Welcome back and thank you for joining Reb Yankele's podcast. Parshas HaShavua, Parshas Seitzei, we find the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda. And one of the dinim in Hashavas Aveda is the din of Yush, and when Yush is relevant and when Yush is not relevant. Reb Yankele tells us a story, an unbelievable story, and he says, he had a friend, a young man who lost everything in the Holocaust. He lost everything in the war, his entire family. And Rahman al-Islam, he was very, very depressed. Reb Yankele told him, let's go into the Chazon Ish. And he asked him, what's the point of going into the Chazon Ish? Will he give me back my family? But Reb Yankele pushed and he brought him into the Chazon Ish. And the Chazon Ish tells him, my friend, let me tell you a story. And he says that a long time ago, there was a younger man who would sit and learn from morning to night. And his wife, an Eishes Chayil, would go every day and she would work hard to feed their family. She was very successful. And what she would do is she would take their money, go out to the big city, buy things in wholesale and bulk, and then she would come back and sell it for a profit. And she did that for many years. One time, she came to the big city with all the money that they had and suddenly realized that she lost her wallet. The woman was understandably shaken to her core, and she ran to the Rav and pleaded to him to please make an announcement that if anybody finds her wallet, they should bring it to the Rav and return it. So the Rav did just that. And not long after, a poor man walks into the Rav's house and says, indeed, I did find this wallet, but I only want to return it if I am mechuyev to return it. Because I remember learning that if you find a wallet in a city that is mostly non-Jews, you do not have to return it. You can assume and expect that the bailim, that the owners had given up on this wallet. So if indeed this wallet belongs to me min adin, I am not mevata. I do not give up my ownership of it. I have an elderly daughter and I have to marry her off, and I asked Hashem for money, and he sent me this wallet. The Rav didn't know what to do, because on the one hand, this woman would lose her livelihood, her entire family would lose their standing. On the other hand, this poor person, he had a point. If indeed she had given up on the money, and indeed this was a big city that was mostly non-Jews, then the money did belong to him. He didn't know what to do, so he sent the question to the Rav in Kovna, the Goen in Kovna. And the Goen said that indeed he has to give back the money. The Chazon Ish turns to the younger man and asks him, what do you think about this? And the younger man says, well, I guess lifnim b'shur hasadin, you have to be nice and you have to, go above and beyond. This woman would have lost everything. It's understandable. But Chazon Ish said, that's not what the Kovna Goen said. The Chazon Ish said to the younger man, the Kovna Goen said, the money belonged to this woman's husband. This woman's husband was in a different city. He did not even know that it was lost. And therefore, he could not be meyash. He could not give up. Which means she didn't even have permission, or she was not even in a position to give up on this money. So therefore, min hadin, this money belongs to this woman, and the poor person had to return it. And the Chazon Ish, with his loving eyes, steers into this younger man and tells him, younger man, who are you to give up? Who are you to be messiahish on your life? Who are you to say that because of what happened to you, you are now bailim to be meyash? We are here in this world, says the Chazon Ish, to do as a shaliach, as a messenger, to receive messages from Hashem, to fulfill them, and to go along with them. We're not here as a Bailim. We're not here to give up. Reb Yankele continued and he said, in Nevardik, at some point, there was mamash no food. And one of the Rosh Yeshiva would go and try and collect a little bit of bread from the other people in town to feed the Bachrim in Yeshiva. And before Pesach, he took it upon himself to try to collect a little bit of flour. So maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to collect enough flour to make matzahs l'chavot Pesach. He took the flour and he hid it in an attic. And Ma'as HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there was a snowstorm, and the snow was so heavy that the roof fell in, and the rain went onto the flour, and of course it was now not feasible to be used to make matzahs. The Bachrim were at a loss, and they were talking to each other, what could possibly be done? It's almost Pesach. I guess what we'll have to do is each Bacha should go to a different person in town, and even though they themselves were poor, it's by the Seder Nacht, we say, Kol dich v'n Yosef v'yechel, whoever is hungry should come and eat. They'll have to give us a little matzah. But they went to the Rosh Yeshiva, and the Rosh Yeshiva said, before we decide what we'll do, I have 3 questions for you. So the Bachrim said, of course, what are the questions? And the Rosh Yeshiva said, question number 1, who sent us the flour in the first place? So he said, what do you mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He said, question number 2, who made that the snowstorm should come and that the attic roof should fall in? So he said, what do you mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so therefore he continued and said, so therefore who will give us matzahs for Pesach? I guess HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So they decided to leave it at that. And Erev Pesach in the morning, the mailman came in knocking and said that a big amount of money was sent towards the yeshiva, and they were able to go out and buy flour, and that year they had more matzahs than any other time. We're not here in this world as Bailim. We don't have the permission to give up. As we're getting closer to Rosh Hashanah, as we are approaching the higher days of tshuva, so many people are not willing to give it any effort or to give it a chance because they had already given up. They already feel like there's nothing I can do that will really make a difference. It is not in our permission. We don't have that ability. We don't have any permission to even come close to giving up. We are here, as the Chazon Ish said, as messengers, as shluchim, to receive and to put forward our best. And of course, when we go into Shabbos, where Chazal tell us that a person has to look at the world, ki'ilu kol malachtecha asuya, and this is brought down in Shulchan Aruch as halacha psuka. One of the reasons why we don't talk about any materialistic things on Shabbos, any work-related things, ki'ilu kol malachtecha asuya, that's the process, that's the thought process a person needs to have. Everything is done. On Shabbos Kodesh, we don't even have any chiyuv of ishtadlus, any chiyuv of even trying to imagine that we're supposed to be doing something on our own in this world. Shabbos is kulei Lashem, it's me'eno elam haba, it's a taste of elam haba, because indeed it shows us all we're here to do is to hear what Hashem has to tell us and to follow through. And with that, I would like to wish you a wonderful, uplifting, and joyful Shabbos.